As I said, I'm not an expert in real estate. My familiarity with this subject happened about 6 years ago when I was asked to prepare a proposal for a specialized branch of education in real estate, exactly in the same line of thinking as King Saud University did. It's at that time when I familiarized myself with the world of real estate and prepared a paper. But unfortunately, nothing happened to it. That proposal did not see the light of the day. And that has formed the basis of my presentation today. Unfortunately, or is it fortunate, that a lot of things has happened in the world of real estate over the last 2-3 years. And these last 2-3 years has been a tremendous area of, a very valuable area of learning experience in how to guide real estate, what not to do in real estate business, and what not to teach, what to teach, how to help the entire sector of real estate. So my focus, very briefly, will be on the experiences learned during the last 2 years, so that we can think afresh and start to reorganize our thinking, reorganize our orientation towards this subject, towards this field, and do a good job. And then we'll be qualified to send a message to the world that this is how it should be done and not how it was done previously. In order to get our bearings, intellectual bearings right, I think it will be very useful if we very briefly review the history or the growth of real estate in the human civilization. Real estate, as we understand today, is a form of activity based on land and whatever exists or whatever development takes place over land. Land, buildings, then associated with buildings, walls, fences, gates, and other structures on it. In this form, real estate has existed ever since civilization started. In my observation, when men started to possess land as the first element of private property, real estate was born then. And with the advancement of civilization, real estate has expanded in many forms and in many shapes. So in this presentation, I'll briefly look into this background, very briefly, and then go on to what real estate is today and how it has gone through some very tremendous shake-up, convulsion over the last 2 years, or more than 2 years, and that's what are the implications for education in real estate, new implications. We also go to review the experience of the developed world in real estate education. And then from there, we set up for ourselves here in Saudi Arabia the educational goals for this country. And then I try to identify the ingredients of educational program. That means what should be taught in the educational institutions related to real estate, whether it should be taught at the undergraduate level or postgraduate level, and so on. And then I go on to a very sensitive area, which is real estate education and social responsibility. And then I conclude the paper by mentioning some of my own comments. So we can very safely say that real estate has existed with human civilization, and it will continue to be with us in the future also. But the form and shape and the structure of real estate has been varying, has varied, and it will vary in the future also. So I don't believe that there will be one model of real estate development or one model of real estate teaching. In the form that real estate has evolved so far, what do we see? That land is the basic ingredient where the real estate business is grounded, is anchored. As the demand for land has increased with the urbanization, the phenomenon of urbanization, and with the rate of urbanization, the demand for land has been growing exponentially. And as a result, land has become a marketable commodity, responding to demand and supply. Sometimes this demand and supply situation is real, sometimes it is manipulated. And some machinations has gone on behind this. Anyway, so through evolution, it has also influenced social structure of different countries. Real estate became not only a piece of land where home is built, where families are raised, but it is also a demonstration, an exhibition of power and position, a way of bringing about social stability, and in the process, real estate has also shown social structure, social stratification, divisions in the society. Today, real estate has become a major field of business activity. Unfortunately, like any other business, there are fair practices and there are unfair practices also going on. But we must not forget that real estate, although is a business activity, but the product is a social product. Particularly residential real estate is a human social product. A house where families are born and raised, where humble dreams are fulfilled or not fulfilled, depending on circumstances. And real estate can also be a way of showing your social position, social status, power, and so on. But the bottom line is, it is a social product. And as such, we have to treat it as a social issue, not an economic, but ultimately a social issue of providing land and houses for people. As the previous speaker, Dr. Khalid, has said, that land remains. It is creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it remains for the generations to come and enjoy. Therefore, if we treat it as a marketable commodity, then there is an extreme danger that there will be accumulation, concentration of possession of land, and through the process of wrong use of land, we may harm this God-given heritage forever. The other point we have to keep in mind that real estate nowadays in the developed countries happens to be more than 50% of the country's asset. In this little bit of information, we see that in the developed economies, say the group of 8, residential property is valued at $48 trillion, commercial property $14 trillion. Together, they constitute more than 50% of the total asset of the developed countries. This is only an indication of how important the real estate sector can be, particularly the residential real estate. It has become so important that a slight mishandling of this sector or mismanagement or mistrust in this sector can create convulsion in the whole economy. And this is what has happened recently in the United States. I'm sure Professor James is more qualified to speak on that. And the ripple effect has spread throughout the world. Because, as we know, this is a globalized world, so one bad doing, one negative thing happening in one part, and if that part happens to be a very important part, then the negative effect travels throughout the whole world. So what we have to understand here is that real estate it helps in the growth of the national economy. And when the national economy grows, it creates another growth spiral in the real estate sector. So it's a two-way relationship between real estate and national economy. And any wrongdoing in the real estate is bound to affect the national economy, the health of the national economy, and so on. Any misconduct, professional misconduct, malpractice, or any mistake in the organizations of the financial sectors related with the housing can create disaster for the national economy. Without going into the details of what has happened in the last 2 to 3 years in the real estate business, starting in the United States, we can say that the world has realized and the world has learned several lessons. First is that financial markets in the leading countries had been operating in an undisciplined manner, creating irrational business cycles. That is a major phenomena, major fault in the economic system, economic operations of the Western world. Second, economic management and financial practices, institutional framework, and regulatory controls were all slack in the business world in real estate. Those who are familiar with the story of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, perhaps Professor James will elaborate on this later on. We know that these two very big organizations of the federal government in the United States, because of their slackness, because of their malpractice in some cases, the whole economic system was affected and the real estate business crumbled. It is also realized that in order to turn around, real estate business will have to re-equip itself with, first, advanced